Ever get that feeling like your body is just, I don't know, running on fumes, reaching for another cup of coffee, your muscles are kind of twitchy, and you just can't seem to shake that feeling of fatigue?
Yeah.
Well, we are diving deep today into a surprising culprit. You ready for this?
Okay.
Potassium.
Uh-huh.
You might not give this mineral a whole lot of thought,
Right.
but it turns out it's kind of like the battery charger for all your cells.
Absolutely. Keeping those cells energized, firing on all cylinders, all that good stuff.
So in this deep dive, we are going way beyond bananas are good for you,
Yeah.
okay? We're going to be uncovering why potassium is so vital, the sneaky ways that you might actually be deficient,
Huh?
and how to power up your diet with delicious potassium-rich foods.
Right.
So
It's a journey.
it is a journey.
It might change how you think about this often overlooked nutrient.
First off, get this. Scientists believe that our ancestors were consuming up to 15,000 milligrams of potassium every single day.
Wow.
That's over 3 times what we are recommended to get today.
Yeah. I mean, their diets had a very different sodium-potassium ratio than ours.
Mhm.
Imagine a world where your body naturally craved more potassium-rich foods.
Right.
It really makes you think, what would that even tell us about our modern relationship with this essential mineral?
That's such a great point. I mean, so to really understand why this all matters, we need to talk about something called the sodium-potassium pump, right?
Yeah, exactly. This pump acts like, your body's electrical grid, you could say.
Okay.
It uses the balance of sodium and potassium to really move those electrical impulses, through your nerves, through your muscles.
Okay, so without enough potassium, it's like the lights start flickering and our bodies just can't function at their best.
Precisely.
Mm.
Everything, from your muscle contractions to your heartbeat relies on this pump. And when
Wow.
it's not working efficiently, you start to feel it.
Yeah. Now, those early warning signs, those are what get me. They are so sneaky.
Mhm.
Like, I feel tired sometimes. We all do, right?
Right.
How do we know if it's just a busy week or if it's like a sign of low potassium?
Yeah, it's true. It can be really subtle, those initial signs.
Hmm.
Fatigue, muscle weakness, maybe even a little heart palpitation here and there. But you're right, we brush those off.
Oh, totally. But long-term potassium deficiency, that's a whole other ballgame, isn't it?
Absolutely. If those early warnings are ignored, we could be looking at a much higher risk for serious problems. High blood pressure, increased stroke risk, fluid retention. It can even contribute to bone loss and even kidney stones.
Hold on, kidney stones.
Yeah.
I never would have connected those with low potassium.
It's a connection a lot of people miss. And it has to do with how potassium regulates calcium in the body. When you're low on potassium, calcium can build up in our arteries and in our urine, and that actually increases the risk of those painful stones.
Oh, wow. So it's not just about feeling a little tired here and there. It's about protecting our bodies from some serious health issues down the line.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. We got to think of potassium as like an investment in our long-term health.
Absolutely. Okay, so we know we need potassium, but why are so many of us running low?
Hmm.
Is it just a matter of not eating enough veggies?
Well, that's definitely a big part of it, but there's more to it.
Okay.
Medications like diuretics, steroids, even some antibiotics can deplete our potassium levels.
Wait, so even if I'm trying to be healthy and I'm taking my prescribed medications, I could be unknowingly depleting my potassium.
It's possible. And it really highlights how important it is to talk to your doctor,
Right.
about your diet and any medications you're taking.
That makes so much sense. What about stress? I've heard that can impact potassium too, right?
Oh, absolutely. High-stress lifestyles can lead to potassium loss. So can diets high in carbohydrates. And even some of the popular diets, like the ketogenic diet, can initially cause like a rapid drop in potassium
The
level.
keto diet,
Mhm.
seriously. But that's all about, the healthy fats, cutting carbs.
Right. But when you drastically reduce carbs, your body turns to its glycogen stores for energy. And guess what's stored alongside glycogen?
What?
Potassium. So as those glycogen stores are depleted, you lose potassium along with it.
So even if a diet is considered healthy, there can still be these hidden nutrient traps, and we might not even realize it.
Exactly. It's such a good example of how we can't just focus on one aspect of our diet without considering the bigger picture. You know what I mean?
Totally, yeah. This is where it gets really interesting for me because we keep hearing about how processed foods just dominate the modern diet.
Yeah.
So how does that tie into potassium deficiency?
Well, think about it. Processed foods are often loaded with sodium
Right.
and lacking potassium.
Oh, wow.
It's like a double whammy effect. You're not getting enough potassium, and you're overloading on its counterpart, sodium.
And that throws the whole delicate balance out of whack.
Exactly. Did you know that like 60% of the calories consumed in the U.S. come from ultra-processed foods?
Wow, 60%. That's a lot of processed food.
It is a lot.
No wonder so many people are struggling with potassium deficiency.
Yeah, it's a significant contributing factor.
Mhm.
This imbalance can lead to bloating, fatigue, a
Mhm.
whole cascade of other issues, and it often leaves people relying on supplements, relying on medications to manage those symptoms instead of addressing the root cause, which is the diet.
Okay, so we've established that most of us could probably use a potassium boost.
Uh,
But here's the million-dollar question. How do we actually get enough of it? And I'm guessing the answer is not just to eat a banana every
all
day.
right, we got to bust that banana myth.
Right.
While they are a decent source of potassium, about 300 milligrams per serving, they're not the potassium powerhouses we think they are.
Okay, so spill the beans. What should we be loading up on?
Leafy greens.
Hmm.
They are like the true potassium champions. I mean, packing a whopping 500 to 800 milligrams per cup. We're talking spinach, kale, collard greens, even romaine lettuce. Aiming for 5 to 10 cups of these greens daily can really make a difference.
5 to 10 cups. That sounds like a lot of salad.
It does.
Is there a more, I don't know, enjoyable way to get all those leafy greens in?
Oh, absolutely. Think smoothies. You can blend like a cup or two of kale with some low-sugar fruit, like some berries,
Hmm.
and you've got yourself a delicious potassium-rich breakfast or snack.
Yeah.
Like, for example, a smoothie with a cup of spinach, half a cup of blueberries, a banana, and some almond milk. That's like a fantastic way to start your day.
Okay, that actually sounds really tasty. I might have to try that tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
So let's say we start incorporating more of these potassium-rich foods into our diets.
Yeah.
What kind of changes can we expect to see? Are we suddenly going to feel like superheroes?
Well, you might not get superpowers, but the benefits can be noticeable. After just a week of upping your potassium intake, you might experience more energy, less floating, and just an overall sense of well-being.
Now, that's something I think we can all get behind.
Yeah.
Feeling more energized, less puffy, sign me up.
But before we wrap up this part of our potassium deep dive, I'm curious about something.
You know, if our ancestors were thriving on such high levels of potassium, what other benefits might we be missing out on? Is there more to this story than we currently understand?
That's a really good question. It's certainly possible there's more to uncover about the potential benefits of potassium, especially considering how our modern diets have shifted so far away from those potassium-rich foods that our ancestors relied on.
Yeah.
You know, we'll delve deeper into that in the next part of our deep dive.
Oh, this is getting good. Stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back to continue our exploration of this fascinating mineral.
Absolutely.
Welcome back. We are digging deeper into this potassium mystery, and I gotta say, I am already rethinking my grocery list after that last segment.
It really is amazing how much we take potassium for granted
Totally.
until we understand like its full impact, you know?
Before the break, we were talking about the possibility of uncovering even more benefits to potassium, especially since our ancestors were consuming so much more than we do today.
Right, right.
And one area of research that I find really exciting is this potential link between potassium and cognitive function.
Yeah.
There's evidence suggesting that adequate potassium intake might actually play a role in keeping our brains sharp as we age. Did you know that?
It's pretty fascinating, yeah.
Wait, seriously. So potassium isn't just about muscles and electrolytes.
Yeah.
It could actually impact our thinking and memory.
That's what researchers are exploring.
Wow.
You know, remember how we were talking about the sodium-potassium pump being so crucial for nerve impulses?
Right.
Well, those impulses aren't just happening in our muscles, they're happening in our brains too.
So if we're not getting enough potassium, could that, affect how our brain cells communicate with each other?
That's the theory. And
Right.
while we need more research, the early findings are pretty fascinating. They suggest that maintaining healthy potassium levels throughout life
Mm-hmm.
could actually contribute to better cognitive health down the road.
I had no idea potassium could even be linked to brain health. This is blowing my mind.
It's really interesting.
It's like it's a multitasker working behind the scenes to keep our bodies and minds in tip-top shape.
It really underscores how vital this mineral is.
Totally.
It's not just about avoiding deficiency.
Right.
It's about giving our bodies the best chance to thrive, you know?
Okay, so we've covered the why and the how much.
Yeah.
Now let's get practical.
Okay.
Beyond leafy greens and those delicious smoothies you mentioned,
Yeah.
what other foods can we turn to for a potassium boost?
That is a great question. And the good news is there's a whole world of potassium-rich foods out there, just waiting to be discovered.
Okay.
For example, did you know that avocado is an excellent source?
Oh, yeah. I love avocado.
One whole avocado
Okay.
contains nearly 1,000 milligrams of potassium.
Whoa, avocado toast just got even more appealing.
Right.
What about other fruits and veggies? I'm always looking for ways to add more color to my plate.
You're thinking in the right direction, yeah.
Okay.
Sweet potatoes, winter squashes like butternut and acorn,
Uh-huh.
even mushrooms
Really?
are surprisingly good sources of potassium.
Wow.
And don't forget about beans and lentils,
Yeah.
They're like nutritional powerhouses, packed with potassium and so many other essential nutrients.
So it sounds like we should be aiming for like a diverse plate of real whole foods to make
Yes.
sure we're hitting our potassium goals.
Exactly. The more variety you have in your diet, the more likely you are to meet all your nutritional needs, including potassium.
That makes sense.
And here's another important point.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about the quantity of potassium, but also the quality of the sources you're getting it from.
What do you mean by that?
Well, remember that statistic about ultra-processed foods making up such a large part of the American diet?
Yeah.
A lot of these foods are fortified with synthetic vitamins and minerals, including potassium.
So it's like they're trying to make up for the nutrients they've stripped away during processing?
You could say that, yeah, but here's the catch. While those added nutrients might look good on a label, they're not necessarily absorbed and utilized by our bodies the same way
Oh, interesting.
as nutrients from whole, unprocessed foods.
So even if a processed food boasts about its potassium content, it might not actually be doing our bodies as much good
Right.
as a serving of spinach or sweet potato.
Exactly. When it comes to potassium, just like with most nutrients, whole food sources are always the superior choice.
Right.
They offer a symphony of naturally occurring vitamins, minerals, and phytonutrients that work together to support our health.
This is making me realize how everything in our bodies is so interconnected.
It is.
We can't just isolate one nutrient and expect it to solve all our problems. It's about creating a healthy environment within our bodies through the foods we choose to eat.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Thanks.
It's about nourishing our bodies from the inside out with real, whole foods that provide a rich tapestry of nutrients, including potassium.
I love that.
Yeah.
So what does all this mean for our listeners? What's the takeaway message here?
I think the key message is simple. Pay attention to your potassium intake. Don't just aim to meet the minimum requirement.
Right.
Think about optimizing your health and well-being at every level.
And that means ditching the supplements when possible.
Yes.
And embracing those whole food sources of potassium.
Absolutely. Nature provides us with an abundance of delicious, nutrient-rich foods
Uh-huh.
that can help us achieve optimal potassium levels and thrive. It's like we've been handed this incredible toolbox filled with colorful fruits, vegetables, and legumes.
I love that.
And we just need to learn how to use them.
I think that's a great place to wrap up this part of our potassium deep dive.
Yeah.
We've covered so much ground already, but we still have more to explore.
Stay tuned, everyone. We'll be back after a short break to wrap up this potassium power-up session with some final thoughts and actionable takeaways.
And we are back for the final stretch of our potassium deep dive. And I have to say, I am feeling energized already.
Right.
It's amazing what a little knowledge about this mineral can do.
It's like we've unlocked a secret weapon for better health.
I think we've officially busted the myth that bananas are the only potassium all-stars.
Definitely. We've explored a whole world of delicious options, right? Leafy greens, avocados, sweet potatoes.
Yeah.
The possibilities are truly endless.
Speaking of possibilities, before the break, we were talking about those ultra-processed foods and how they just can't compare to the nutrient powerhouses that are found in nature.
It's true. When it comes to potassium, choosing whole foods over processed options is key
Yes.
for optimal absorption and utilization by the body.
So as we wrap up this potassium power-up session, what's the one thing you really want our listeners to take away from this deep dive?
More than anything, I want listeners to feel empowered,
Yeah.
to make informed choices about their potassium intake. It's not about striving for perfection. It's about just making those gradual shifts toward a more nutrient-rich diet.
Small changes can make a big difference.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe start by incorporating just 1 or 2 more servings of potassium-rich foods into your day. Like swap those potato chips for a handful of almonds.
Right.
Or add some spinach to your morning smoothie.
You mentioned smoothies earlier.
Yeah.
I actually tried that spinach blueberry recipe this morning.
Oh, nice.
How'd you like it, honestly?
Yeah.
delicious. I didn't even taste the spinach. It was like the perfect way to start my day, knowing I was fueling my body with potassium and other essential nutrients.
That's great. It's all about finding those like little wins,
Yeah.
that make healthy eating enjoyable and sustainable.
Absolutely. And it doesn't have to be about deprivation or like these big drastic changes.
Right.
It's about finding those simple swaps and additions that will make a real difference in the long run.
Well said. And remember, each step you take towards a more nutrient-rich diet is a step towards better health and vitality.
So as we close out this potassium adventure, I have one final, I don't know, thought-provoking question for our listeners. We've learned how crucial potassium is for our muscles, our hearts, even our brains.
It's amazing.
If our ancestors were thriving on much higher levels of potassium than we are today, what other potential benefits might we be missing out on? I mean, is there more to the story than we've uncovered so far?
That's such a good question to ponder.
Sure.
The world of nutrition is constantly evolving, and there's always more to learn. Who knows what future research might reveal about the power of potassium, right?
That's the beauty of science, always pushing the boundaries of knowledge.
Absolutely.
And on that note, we want to thank you for joining us on this fascinating journey into the world of potassium.
We hope you've gained some valuable insights, some inspiration to power up your own health with this incredible mineral.
Stay curious, keep exploring the world of nutrition.
Yeah.
Until next time, this is The Deep Dive, signing off.